Hello there and welcome to another Q&A with myself. I'm Clément Young, I'm your host, and I'm a bit out of breath because I just finished working out, but we do not wait for anything here at Unresolved, so I'm diving straight into this. Today we're going to be answering a question by Nelson Vidina, which asks, how do successful couples resolve conflicts? It's a really good question because conflicts are one of the major reasons why relationships end, which is ridiculous because, you don't want it to end on something so, trivial as like just having a conflict, right? And by the way, we need to declassify what conflict means because we might think of it differently. So for me, conflict is really something that doesn't happen too often. It happens often, but not too often, not like every day, not like every other day, less than 3 times a week, right? And it's just a spur of the moment misunderstanding or just a dispute over something that's important to both people and it needs to be resolved, right? So that's a conflict for me. If it's the other thing, if it's happening more often than 3 times a week, if it's happening every day, if you're hurling verbal abuse, like you're cussing or raising your voice, if you're breaking, throwing, slamming objects, if you're having physical abuse in the relationship, emotional abuse, neglect, or just saying really mean things, then this is totally different. And if that's you, if that's your conflict, then we really need to look again at the foundations of the relationship. I'm not going to answer that this time. What I would recommend is guidance counseling, maybe on a personal level if you think you're the problem, or on a relationship level if you think it's something that you need to work on together. And there's also personality or behavior tests that you can do, which I've mentioned before, such as Jordan Peterson's understandmyself.com, which is based on the Big 5. And check those out. I'll put the link in the description so that you can check that out. Very helpful, by the way. And so let's move on. Now, we're going to talk about what makes someone successful in a relationship, because the question is, how do successful couples resolve conflicts? I want to talk less about the actual strategies for resolving conflicts, because those are just, they happen now and again. But in order to be able to resolve them properly, you need to have the makeup of a successful partner. What makes a successful partner? Because if you can handle a conflict with, some foundational skills, those foundational skills are applicable to other things in your life as well, right? And you can have more joy and abundance and financial freedom and just a better family environment and just so much more out of life by focusing on what makes someone a successful partner in a relationship. So let's see. Successful couples are interested in long-term growth, not present moment gratification. What does that mean? It means that instead of doing things on let's say the seat of your pants, let's say we're looking for just something to distract us from everyday life. We're looking for moments that we can share together, but never ending. So we're always traveling together, seeing new things. We're always binge watching Netflix. We're always, drinking together, partying together. Nothing substantial for long-term growth is part of the equation, or if it is, it's not very significant. It means that you really have to think about what it is that you want from your relationship. A partner that wants long-term growth is in it for life. They are committed to you, and they are committed to themselves. They know what they want. They've thought about it, and you made the cut. And if you also have done that, then you're both very much thinking of long-term growth, which means, what kind of a person do I want to be? And what are the things I need to learn to become that person? What are the friends that we want to have? What are the social circles? What's the job that would best contribute to our future? What's my passion in life? How can I share that with my partner? Do I want to have a family? What do I need to do to prepare? Does my partner want a family? Do we need to talk about it? This is long-term stuff. This is not short-term stuff. Short-term stuff is the moment, and that's not bad. go for it. Have fun. Enjoy having date nights. Enjoy binge watching Netflix or playing on the PS4 or whatever it is. But your partnership is more important than those things, and it should always be the most important thing, right? So, successful couples have emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence, if you're going to walk away from this with any kind of advice, my advice is focus most of your time and effort on your emotional intelligence. Because if you can become very in touch with yourself, if you can become secure, if you can become confident, if you can practice equanimity, as they say, which is the muscle which is responsible for managing very tense, very scary moments, very fearful emotions, and not letting yourself just become almost like a ship stranded in the sea, floating with the waves. If you can work on your emotional intelligence, which by the way, we don't get taught in school, which is ridiculous, but it doesn't make money, right? So you got to get smart, right? If you teach people emotional intelligence, they're not going to want to buy half of the stuff on the market today because they're going to be secure, they're going to be confident, they're going to have self-esteem. This is the kind of thing you want to have. This is the partner that you want to have. They need to be emotionally intelligent, and you need to be emotionally intelligent as well to be able to keep them, to be able to work with them and grow with them. So again, if you're going to walk away from this conversation with any kind of advice, the advice that I have for you is focus on your emotional intelligence. It's key. It's the most important thing because most other things come from that, right? Successful couples have worked on their communication skills. Communication, something that is really suffering a lot in relationships. A lot of the challenges that we see today are things like, my man doesn't ever want to talk about problems, or, that's actually a really good example. I think men have more trouble with communication than women. I think women are just naturally geared towards socializing and social connection. Men very much more withdrawn. But this is not just a male problem. Communication is being able to, easily and clearly articulate and verbalize what it is that you're thinking and feeling and how you see things, so that your partner can then respond in kind, so that they can also understand where you're coming from and what your position is. Because if you can't sell that, if you can't, right? And I say sell because we have to be able to sell ideas. We have to be able to sell what it is that we're actually, looking for in life. We need the buy-in from the people that are around us, our partners, our peer group, right? So I say sell because you're selling this. You're selling what it is that you're thinking, who you are as a person. So, a lot of the strategies that work for, let's say, selling products or services can actually, the psychology behind it can actually work for, in relationships too. Interpersonal relationships. But it's not just that, it's also the ability, and I probably should have led with this because this is more important than actually talking or communicating, is listening. So listening and observing. If you can get really good at listening and observing, which is something Simon Sinek talks about a lot as a leadership skill, you have to be the last one to speak, right? Because you're listening to what everyone else has to say and you're trying to formulate the situation and the reality of the situation and all the options that you have to move ahead before you actually open your mouth, so that when you open your mouth, what you say is relevant, concise, and effective. Relevant, concise, and effective. You don't want to say too much, you don't want to say too little. You want what you say to be clear and understandable, and you want what you say to actually make sense and have some practical value too, okay? So that's the value of communication. Successful couples do not leave problems unresolved. Don't leave problems unresolved. Big mistake, because what happens is all that negativity, all of that angst, that resentment, that anger, it might feel like it disappears. It might feel like the next day, if you didn't actually figure things out and you just ignored it and went on with your life, it might feel like it's not there anymore. But I guarantee you it's still there, it's building up, and it's just waiting for the next time that you have a disagreement or a conflict for it to just come back out again. But not just that, it's going to come out with something extra. It's going to avalanche into something and you're going to explode one day. You don't want to do that. You want to resolve things. Now, people resolve conflicts differently. Some people need to do it immediately. I have this challenge with one of my ex-partners where she wanted to resolve challenges straight away, just dive right into it. And if I was emotional, what I'd want to do is go away for a while, cool down, gather myself, gather my composure, and then come back at it with like a fresh perspective, which is also really helpful. And I don't recommend you try to resolve things if you're feeling emotional, because you're just going to bang heads. You're just going to keep clashing. So you find your own rhythm, find your own groove, and communicate. Just try to let someone know. Try to sell the idea that if you need more time, you're going to come back and resolve things. You just need more time. Okay? Successful couples seek to understand, not to be correct. Have you ever been in a situation where either you or your partner was just desperate to be the one who was right? Does that happen a lot to you? It's happened a lot to me. I've been like that. My partners have been like that. Not healthy. It's not helpful. It doesn't matter who's right or wrong, really. I mean, if you're wrong all the time, then maybe that's a problem. But just try to accept the fact that the relationship is more important than you being right. That's really the best way that I can describe it. Do you want to be right, or do you want to have a relationship? Because ultimately, that's what it's going to boil down to. If you're the kind of person, or if your partner's the kind of person who always needs to be right, relationship is going to end. Because no one wants to be in a situation where their partner's just like never giving them the time of the day, never allowing them to have, because look, you've failed before, right? You've lost a job, or you haven't gotten a promotion, or you've lost in the stock market, or, just so many things in life that you've failed at. Why is there something about your relationship that you can't fail at, right? Why? You are failing in your relationship sometimes, and that's okay. The whole point is you learn from your mistakes, and you can't learn from your mistakes if you always think that you're right. Which brings me on to my next point, which is that successful couples are open to criticism. If you, like myself, and I still am, but in the past I've been very insecure about certain things. And I've always been defensive when someone has tried to bring up something that maybe I need to work on, which is a criticism. It's a constructive criticism if they say it with dignity and they don't label you or judge you or say it in a harsh tone of voice. If you can find a way to be okay with accepting criticisms, you're going to resolve problems so much faster. You're going to resolve conflict so much faster than if you were just like a hard shell and your partner can't get through to you. Now I'm saying you, but it could be your partner too, okay? Just work on the criticism, being open to it, accepting that we're not right all the time, we're not the best, we're not going to succeed all the time. It's fine, we're just human. Successful couples work to support each other, not to fight each other. Okay, this is the last point that I want to make. Well, what can we say about this? I mean, it's pretty obvious, but many times it seems like we're just together to fight. And I think the reason why that happens is because our partner is always the closest person to us when we're feeling down, when we're feeling like we're winded or we've got something to prove and we're frustrated. They are like an outlet to us. Maybe it's because we think that they're not going to leave us. Maybe because we get away with things. Maybe they're submissive. But we can use our partner as kind of like an excuse to vent. And we forget that they're a real person and that they're soaking up all this negative energy. We shouldn't be doing that to each other. We shouldn't be starting fights because we need to let out negative energy. We should be finding other outlets for that. We should be more emotionally intelligent. We need to be each other's best friend, because this is a lifelong thing. If you really want a relationship to work, guess what? The relationship doesn't end. It lasts until you die. That's a successful relationship, a relationship that is fulfilling all the way through and that you wouldn't have any other way. And in order to do that, you gotta be best friends. You've gotta be your biggest team members, your biggest supporters and cheerleaders. You've gotta want to work things out. You've gotta want to be able to see when you're failing so that you can be better for your partner. So I hope that this has helped. This has been one of the longer Q&As, but there's a lot of information in there for you. And I do genuinely hope that you walk away from this with that one piece at least of advice, which is to work on your emotional intelligence, because I think it all starts there right now, where we have an epidemic of a lack of emotional intelligence. And that's why the world is in such a dire situation right now. The least thing that we can do with the most impact is to just work on our own emotional intelligence and copy that over to the people around us. Thank you for listening. I appreciate it, and I hope to see you on the next one. Take care.